Hey, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to talk VLAN configuration and packet tracer. Access layer switches, configuration of VLANs, spanning those VLANs across 802.1 trunks, and the purpose of the native VLAN. Now, I have a 2950 Catalyst Cisco switch. I use this a lot. This thing is awesome, but it's a layer 2 switch. And so what it does is it provides all my end devices with network connectivity, but it does not provide routing. So it has its limitation, but it does a great purpose in that segmentation, which is security for my network, whether it be internal or in the office or something. All right, now I have 4 PCs, 2 switches. On SW1, I have PC1 and PC2. On SW2, I have PC3 and PC4. Down here, I have the configurations of those devices, and then I also have the MAC addresses for the PCs and the switches. Whenever you're dealing with layer 2, get used to doing the show MAC address table, whatever, just to know where your devices are, what ports is in, and make sure it's the real deal and you're not being spoofed or something like that. But let's pull up switch SW1. Now, I have the PCs already configured with their IP address. The switches shouldn't have any configs, so do show IP interface brief. We can stretch that over. VLAN 1 is administratively down. Let's do a show VLAN brief. This is how you verify the VLANs that are on your device. Now, VLAN stands for Virtual Local Area Network. Now, in your building, wherever you are, local area network is local to you. Virtual local area network means it really doesn't matter where you are as long as the layer 2, layer 3 functionality can reach. And what I mean by layer 2, layer 3 functionality, meaning that your layer 2 devices, as far as your switches, can be in building 1 and building 2, but if they have what you call a trunk in between them, they can talk. Now, if you're on separate VLANs, if you're on VLAN 1, VLAN 2, you're going to need a layer 3 device in order to communicate. But if you're in building 1 and building 2 and you're both on VLAN 2, you can talk. That's pretty cool, huh? Now, I have, like I said, the PCs configured, but I have no VLANs configured. By default, VLAN 1 and all ports on that switch will be in VLAN 1. That's the default VLAN. That is also your default native VLAN for a switch. We'll talk more about the native VLAN here shortly. You have your FIDI, your token ring. These are VLANs that are there by default. Since this is the 2960 switch, you can find those here. These are, I'm using 2 2960 switches. Now, let's configure some VLANs. Like I said, PC1 is let's go back. Sorry. On this switch, on switch W1, we're going to have VLAN 1 and VLAN 10. VLAN 1 is in FAO1, and if we do a show VLAN brief, you can see that that's already assigned to VLAN 1. But PC2 is in VLAN 10. We do not have a VLAN 10, and port 2 is still in VLAN 1. So what we need to do is create a VLAN 10 on this switch, and then also take FAO2 and assign it to VLAN 10. Let's do a config T. Config T. To create a VLAN, the command is simply VLAN 10. Enter, and then let's name the VLAN. So it's just name, and this name is sales. This creates a layer 2 VLAN, not layer 3, just simple layer 2, meaning that any ports that are assigned to this VLAN on this switch will communicate and they will also communicate across the trunk. That's the purpose of a virtual VLAN, but we'll get to that shortly also. So, well, that's the point of a VLAN, not virtual VLAN. You know what I mean. All right, so we have VLAN 10 created. We named it sales. Now we need to go into interface F02, and we need to make this a switch. We need to make this what you call an access port. And what an access port simply does is it gives your end devices access to the network. And so what we want to do is say switch port mode access. That makes it hard coded in access port, and there's no trunk negotiation allowed. So switch port mode access. That's also implements security on your network. Also, if someone was just to plug in and try and negotiate a trunk, they can VLAN hop and all different types of things. So switch port access VLAN, and let's go 10. Let's do a no shut. Now it's orange now because of spanning tree. So as long as spanning tree is taken, and let's see, it's going to go through its process of spanning tree. I don't want to dig too deep into that, so we'll just wait and let it come back up. Now we also need to put a layer 3 IP address on this device. We'll exit. The layer 3 IP address is for management purposes. If you're in, let's say, building 2 and the switch is in building 1, and you needed to remote into the switch, or let's say you at your desk and the switch is in the comm closet and you don't feel like getting up, you can just enter this IP address in the telnet or SSH, and you can log into that switch and manage it. So let's do interface VLAN 1. This will be the management IP address of switch 2, 192.168.1.1, 255.255.255.0. Oops, I need to put IP address before that. Sorry. Come on. All right, so that IP address for VLAN 1 is entered. Now, whenever you enter a layer 3, which this interface VLAN is the layer 3 IP address for the switch, you have to bring it up. So let's do it no shut. That brings it up. You also have to have an active port on that VLAN, and we do. PC1 is in VLAN 1. So everything's good to go. Now if we go back, do a show IP interface brief. We got action. Can we ping PC1? 1.2. We should get pings. Good to go. Now can we ping PC2? That's going to be 10.3 for PC2. Even though it's on this switch, we will not be able to ping that PC, because we have no layer 3 connectivity. We just have VLANs. Now, we just have layer 2 VLANs. Like I said, show VLAN brief. And we have here PC2 sales there. Now if we do a show MAC address table, you see VLAN 1, you can see FA01 because we have network connectivity to that. But if I was to go in here and do a ping, let's do a ping. Let's do a ping 192.168.10.1. There it is. So if you ping within, of course there's no layer 3, so it's not going to do anything with that. But what it does is, since it's on the same VLAN as VLAN 10, what it does is it broadcasts that package to all the ports to see if anybody has that IP address. No one has that IP address, but it comes up in the MAC address table because now it sees traffic from PC2. All right, now let's recap. We have PC1 on VLAN 1. We have PC2 on VLAN 10. The switch sees both of those devices, and we can verify the MACs. And this is why I put the MACs here, so we wouldn't have to do a search for them. So PC1's MAC is, you can verify here and here. Good to go. Now, PC2's MAC is. You can verify here and here. Good to go. Now, so VLAN 1, VLAN 10. That switch is good. Let's do it right now. And let's do a show interface trunk. We have no trunks configured. There's no connection in between switch 1 and switch 2. So let's go back in here to switch. Well, let's go into switch 2 and check these configs. Enable show VLAN brief. And just like the other switch, all ports are in VLAN 1. Are in VLAN 1. Default ports are on the switch. And let's do a show IP interface brief. Nothing's configured. So the first thing we want to do is PC3. Actually, on this device, we have VLAN 1 already, but we need a VLAN 10. So let's create VLAN 10 and call it sales. So VLAN 10, and we'll name this sales. All right. Now we have VLAN 10 here. We named it sales. We have PC1, which is in VLAN 1. Show IP interface brief. Pipe include or exclude down. This excludes all the down ports. So we have ports 1 and 2 up, which we need, which are they're supposed to. So now what we need to do is go into, actually on this port, on this switch, FA01 is going to be PC4, and that's going to be in VLAN 10, as you can see here. So we'll go down to config T, and then we'll do interface FA01, and we'll have to make this an access port, switch port mode access, meaning we hard code it to just be an access port for the host, the end device. So switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10. Oh, switch port access VLAN 10, sorry. Come on. There we go. Switch port access VLAN 10. That's good to go. So let's go show VLAN brief. And you should see FA01 in VLAN 10 and FA02 in VLAN 1. We also need to configure a layer 3 IP address on this one. So config T, interface VLAN 10. So the IP address 192.168.10.1. And the reason why I did that, because the native VLAN is going to be VLAN 10 on this one, and then we'll have to do a no shut. And if I ping PC4 192.168.10.2, it'll ping. Why? Because this switch is in VLAN 10. Now if I ping VLAN 1's, which is PC3, it's not going to ping because it's a layer 2 switch and it's not in VLAN 1, it's in VLAN 10. So what we have now is this switch we have this switch here in VLAN 10. Well, the management interface in VLAN 10, and this switch here in VLAN 1. What we want to do is create a trunk in between these two, so the VLAN 10 here can ping here, and then the PC1 or the VLAN 1 here can ping here. So let's go down here and get a crossover cable, and let's go from port 24 to port 24. Let's just keep them simple like that. Now we'll have to wait for spanning tree to do its thing. But if you don't want to wait, just fast forward time. Brings it right up. Now, since they're connected, do we have a trunk? And what a trunk does is it takes the layer 2 VLANs and span them across multiple switches over one link. So say you have 10 VLANs, they'll all go over that trunk if you allow them. But by default, they'll all go over. So let's do a show interface trunk. We have no trunk. So let's do a show interface FO2. Alright, it's up. Good to go on that end. Let's go in here to config T. Now, what we want to do is create the trunk. And we want to hard code that trunk. But yeah, let's do that first. So let's go interface FO24. And let's go switch port, mode, trunk. Trunk on that end. And let's do it on the other end. So config T, FO24, interface FO24, switch port, mode, trunk. Fast forward time. Alright. And now what we did, we just hard coded interface 24 on both FO24 on both switches to be trunks. So if we go interface trunk here, the port is going to be 24. The mode is on. It's 802.1q trunking. And the native VLAN is 1. Allow VLANs is going to allow the VLANs that it knows about. So it allows VLAN 1 and VLAN 10. Let's rename this too. So this is hostname SW1. Alright. Now, we verified that on switch SW1. Let's go on SW2 and let's do a show interface trunk. And we verified FAO24. The mode is on 802.1q and it's trunking. It knows about VLAN 1 and 10. The native VLAN is 1. Native VLANs match. Okay. Can PC1 ping PC3? And PC3 IP address is going to be ping 192.168.1.3. It can ping. Now PC1 is here. It pings here. Let's try it like this. Successful. Now can PC1 ping PC4? Failed. Can PC2 ping PC3? Failed. Now these are in separate VLANs, so of course not. But can PC2 ping PC4? Successful. So guys, we just created a trunk from SW1 to SW2. Everything's pinging, everything's successful. Okay, so if we go in here to switch W2 and we see the native VLAN is 1. What's the purpose of that native VLAN? Okay, so the purpose of the native VLAN is to tag untagged frames. Okay, so if we're in switch W2, we see the native VLAN is 1. Now, when a switch receives frames that are untagged, they tag it with the native VLAN. Now, in today's network, there's really no purpose for the native VLAN commonly, but they are used on Wi-Fi networks, some phones, but native VLANs on both ends needs to match. So if native VLAN on one end is going to be VLAN 1, it has to be VLAN 1 on the other end. And why is that? Well, if the frames do not match, that's when you have VLAN hopping. That's when you have problems on your network. And I'm going to show you that here now. On this switch, we said let's make the native VLAN something other than 1. We'll make it 10 because that's the VLAN that we currently have on this switch. So let's go interface and let's go switch port, trunk, native VLAN, let's go 10. We should get an error message or a message that tells us that the native VLANs do not match. See how long this takes. Show interface trunk. This message should alert us here shortly. And we'll keep this up. So we have 10 on this one. Okay. So, as you can see, spanning tree is doing its job. Spanning tree. Spanning tree says receive BPDU with inconsistent peer and VLAN ID. So it's now blocking. And so what we need to do is we need to go in native VLAN mismatch. We need to disable config T no spanning tree VLAN 10. And let's do this no spanning tree VLAN 1. Alright, now let's do a show MAC. Alright, so let's go back here and do a show MAC. Spanning tree was blocking. And the purpose of this lab is to show you the reason why you need a native VLAN. And the only way we can do that was by disabling spanning tree in order to continue communication on the trunk. Now, it looks like it's already working. So on this SW2, the native VLAN is 10. We have MAC addresses for VLAN 1, and this is going to be switch 1 because it's on VLAN 1. And then we have this MAC address, which is going to be PC4. This MAC address, which is going to be, looks like SW1. Wow, SW1 is coming in on VLAN 1 and VLAN 10. And then you have this MAC address, which is going to be PC2 from here. Now, we have switch. All right. Now let's see if we ping. Let's do some pinging. Let's ping. Let's delete that. Let's ping PC1, PC3. Failed. PC1 and PC4. Failed. Failed. But let's go back over here to switch 2. I'm going to show you something. Show MAC. Look at this. So PC's 1 MAC address is what? 00E0 and it's going to be right here. It's coming in on VLAN 10. What does that mean? That means that since you have a VLAN, native VLAN mismatch, the frames are coming in from VLAN 1 untagged, and switch 2 is now tagging them VLAN 10. In Packet Tracer, you are unable to make this ping work. But if I was to take my 2950 and hook up two 2950s and run the same lab, essentially with no router involved, VLAN 1 can ping VLAN 10 with no problems. That's what you call VLAN hopping, and that's the purpose of a native VLAN. Looks like this lab is complete. I had fun in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it also. Please feel free to subscribe, share with your friends, hit the like button, and please leave comments in the section below whether you like it, if I can do something better. If you got suggestions, hit me up. Let me know. I thank you all for viewing. Peace.